Great. Welcome to this week's episode of Future Fridays, where we chat about future tech headlines from the week. I'm your host, Wiz, and you can find me on Twitter at WizLikeWizard. Today, we've got three lovely guests who I'll each have go around and give a short 280-character introduction. And we also have Yael, who's a cartoonist, who'll be live doodling with us for fun. And you can find her on Instagram at YaelIsms. So, Matt, we'll start with you. You want to give us a short 280-character intro?
Sure. I'm Matt Hartman. I'm a partner at Betaworks. We build companies and we invest in companies all at the future of kind of how we live, work, and play.
Nice. Semil?
Semil Shah. I'm a partner at Haystack. Like Matt, we're an early stage investment fund, more generalist than just looking for the opportunity to work with great people.
Awesome. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Tollemache. I'm a stand-up comic, or I was, but slowly getting back out there. Tour around the country, and I just have dumb opinions.
Funny opinions.
Yeah.
Nice. Before we jump in, all the headlines that we're going to chat about today come from a newsletter I work on called This Week in Creative Technology. Every week we send about 30 future tech headlines, ranging from things that are more current to things that are like totally crazy and out of this world. Anyone watching today can sign up at bit.ly/join Future Fridays. So we'll kick things off today with a game. This is round one. There's going to be an awesome prize at the end for the winner as well. So this game is real or fake. We've got three headlines here, two of which are real and one of which is fake. The job to you all is to guess which one is the fake one. So I'm going to read them out and then we'll do a little rock, paper, scissors style shoot. So number one Twitter account is reposting everything Trump tweets. It was suspended within 3 days. Number two, Tesla partners with Mattel to develop self-driving Hot Wheels for kids. And finally, number three, carbonated ice cream is a feat of physics, and it actually tastes good. So hands up, and we'll do rock, paper, scissors, and you'll just shoot 1, 2, or 3 corresponding to which headline you think is fake. Semil? Awesome. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then just hold it up. So we've got 3. Semil, what are you holding? 2, and 3. All right, so the correct answer, the fake answer, is in fact number 2, which means 5 points for Semil. Tesla has not partnered with Mattel to make self-driving Hot Wheels, but I mean, it sounds like a pretty great idea. So
I think Sarah got that too, right? Sarah got that too.
Oh, did you?
No,
I thought you
got
had 3 up, Sarah.
No, I had a 3 up. I assumed that they made a Hot Wheels because of that video with the kids driving that I was like, oh, maybe they decided to make.
It sounded plausible.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they were collecting data and using that for gathering data. So they were like, we'll send the Hot Wheels.
It's also like something Elon would have like one of his underlings sort of promote in social media. Right?
Yes.
And like take over the internet for half a night.
Flamethrower for kids coming next. All right, so first headline of today is Apple's synthetic group selfie patent could be perfect for social distancing. So what this headline is about is that the US Patent and Trademark Office recently granted Apple a patent for software that basically allow for what they're calling socially distant selfies. The software would allow a user to invite other people to participate in a group selfie without actually being there. So it's a synthetic photo that it generates. The feature would arrange multiple people into a single image, basically removing the image, so the background from the other selfies and placing them into a scene that sort of looks believable. So kicking it off to you all, we already are sort of all obsessively curated news feeds that perpetuate the doing it for the gram lifestyle. Are synthetic selfies the next step in developing a digital version of our lives, or is it just more hype for the doing it for the gram lifestyle?
I mean, why not? I'm surprised it's not already out there because people already kind of do it. And I don't know. I want people to think that I have more friends. I saw a headline of a girl with 15 of her friends got infected with coronavirus. And I was like, man, I wish I had 15 friends. I was so jealous.
You can move to Jacksonville.
That's true.
Just go bar hopping.
I was surprised that this one, when you look through the patent, they talk about what sounds to me like airdrop almost. Like it's finding how far people are away from you based on Bluetooth and then showing you that distance away potentially. And so it seemed like there was, what the use case they were describing was like you're all sitting at dinner, and rather than everyone trying to gather into a certain place, it's sort of like a baseball card I picture, like where you're like, okay, here's the archive of us having been here, that you but not actually, but without actually having to take a picture of it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But I thought the most surprising thing was in the drawings of the article, it says that one of the choices is live stream. Like you could live stream with your synthetic friends, and I was curious what that was going to end up looking like.
Yeah, interestingly, this patent was actually filed in 2018, despite surfacing in the news now. So, I mean, things have obviously come a long way with synthetic media since then.
Matt would know more about this through his work at Betaworks than I do, and especially around synthetic media. But just as a general concept, like it is the most important sensor in the world. That's pre-protests and everything, and they're going to keep improving both the hardware and the software. And this idea of creating synthetic media broadly, whether it's music or what have you, I think we're just at the tip of that. And so maybe this is one little step, towards that. But I think there's much richer things happening where, people are building platforms that you can like write into a coding box and like write out a movie scene, and it's all generated in real time synthetically. And so we'll just see a lot more of this kind of stuff till we're 70, 80 years old.
Yeah, we talked about a Baidu algorithm last week that was generating short movie clips based on news articles. Basically, you feed it a couple of news articles and it makes a movie clip out of it, which is pretty interesting. Moving away from some of the technical considerations and talking more about the social considerations. I mean, should we be worried that these kind of apps and editing tools are documenting a different life than one that we might actually be living?
Yeah, so I have a quick point of view on that. I like the applications in sort of a previous era where you could only share what you're taking while it's in the app and not doctor it. So like imagine an Instagram where you just have to take the photo and that's it. You can't edit it. It's just timestamped, boom, and done. And you have to take it while the application's open. You can't collect it from the web or stitch it together or make a collage. I think those kind of things where like inherently the application designer designs that into the experience will be really interesting. In the same way, like people talk about editing tweets. And like, I think it's great that you can't, because of the timestamp adds value and you can point back into something in time.
I mean, I think broadly on like the synthetic stuff, I think a lot about like Fortnite and how people pay for the clothes that they wear in Fortnite. And they talk about Fortnite as like not a game you play, but a place you go. Right? So you go to Fortnite, and I think the ultimate sort of proof that people view it as a place is the fact that they're willing to pay to wear different clothes in it. And they care about what they look like. And I don't know that there's any going back from like the internet being, I don't know how much less real. I mean, I know it's not literally real, but how much less real it is that we're all spending so much time, especially right now where you have everyone sort of so separated from each other. Your real version of you is just the version that's kind of projected online. I don't know how different that is than picking clothes that you wear and changing what you look like in person.
It's a great perspective. Sarah, any final thoughts before we move on?
I mean, I wish Twitter, you could edit a little bit. I'm always putting up grammar mistakes that I'm like, oh, can't they just give us like a few characters that we can edit?
That makes you more real. It means you don't have a staff putting in your tweets and managing your social media.
I know, but I can't handle people being like, didn't you mean this? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I spelled your wrong. No big deal.
Everyone watching, tweet at Jack right now asking for an edit button because it hasn't been done enough.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll move on to the first cartoon then. Cartoonist, what do you have for us?
All right. Here we go. Can you guys see my screen? I thought of a different use case. So here's one. We got the second one. The sarcastic guy. This is gonna be the same two people talking. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Nice.
Actually, yeah.
And lastly, that's it.
Nice. All right, we will move on to. We'll move on to the next headline. So this one is Animal Crossing New Horizons is now a platform used for protests. So this is actually a Nintendo Switch game, and it's found some interesting new use cases during the pandemic. It's been used for things like birthday celebrations and even weddings, just like a digital place for people to gather. But recently, there was a group of Mexican women who gathered together on a virtual island in the game to protest against the death of Diana Montes, who was a 21-year-old who is believed to have been murdered for her feminist beliefs. The protest gained international attention, with thousands of people sharing messages on social media to raise awareness for that wrongful death. I mean, obviously created an interesting new space for uses of those kind of games in online places. Putting it out to you all, I mean, we're seeing protests all over the world today and people out on the streets that are affecting change. Can video games and apps and other technologies like that become an important vehicle for change, or is this just another version of slacktivism?
I don't know. I like anything that you can do from home. But I also like, I don't know, I've done a few virtual reality games and I love that it's just escapism from the actual world. So I think there would be I would love for a place where I could just be a fox on a mushroom without political beliefs or like sad things of the world being in my face. But I mean, I am a lazy person, so I like any activism that's taken from the comfort of my own home. So
Yeah, they're working for you. I think like the idea of like, I've never played Animal Crossing, but the idea of like playing a game and like trying to like go over this like mythical bridge into this new land and having people stand in front of it. I like the idea of that, but I probably in the moment would be pretty annoyed by it. And so I'd probably just not cross that bridge and go to a different part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, so this had been done, something like this existed in Second Life. I think it was a strike or a protest in Second Life a really long time ago. And it was sort of interesting because that was, it almost feels like less of the uncanny valley now than it did then. Because at the time, there weren't that many people in Second Life. And so it was sort of an event, but there are probably different ways to organize using the internet. Now people use the internet to organize and actually sort of like organize protests in real life and raise money for things. What's so interesting, I think, about the Animal Crossing use case is we've almost come full circle, but now we live in this, as I was kind of saying before, we live in this synthetic world. And so if part of the purpose of protesting is to get attention, like you can actually get real attention in an online place, which is just, I mean, I think it's kind of amazing that not only did they get attention in the sort of outside world, but also got attention in Animal Crossing. I'll add, I guess, one little comment, which is my fiance loves Animal Crossing and plays all the time. And she did her birthday in quarantine. So it was just us. And on Animal Crossing in the game, all your friends, like the robots, come up and say happy birthday to you. And it feels really good. She was like, really, I think there's like a real emotional thing that happens when you're, especially when you're like deprived of people in the real world, when you're kind of online. So I think there's more sort of emotion than just the kind of, okay, people are doing this thing with bits. I think there's real, I don't know. I think there's some real humanity in these places now.
I would add just one thing to what Matt was saying about the attention. If you think of just media, what is media? It's attention. And now you can, in certain places, stand up for a cause or protest for a cause and get the attention for it. I think when that stuff gets screenshotted or put back into social networks and it subverts the traditional media, the the headroom for it is infinite. And so I do think it can drive change faster. And so to answer your original question, I don't think it's like the original Slacktivism. I actually think that it will foster more change. It will foster more change. Some of the change will be good and some of the change will be regressive, but there will be more of it because of it.
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram has been a flood of commentary on everything that's going on today. And I found it incredibly helpful just to better educate myself and learn more. And I think you were speaking, Semil, to that sort of like that network compounding effect of it having rippling effects when it is out in digital versus just a physical protest that, is covered from only certain angles.
Yeah. We have little kids, and obviously we have all these little books for little kids. And I don't know if you saw this teacher, this Black teacher, female teacher on Twitter. She did this tweet storm of like all these books you can buy your kids, like, and so one night I just went into Amazon and I tried to buy every book. Over half the books were sold out that she recommended.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I was just like, wow, that it was sort of frustrating in the moment, but like, yeah, people I think took that tweet storm and did something with it. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and she just took a bunch of pictures on her phone and shared it.
Great. Any final thoughts before we move on? All right, we'll move on to game number 2. This is multiple choice. This is worth 10 points. So Sarah and Matt, an option for you to reclaim first place in front of Semil. So here we've got a headline with a missing word. There's 3 options below, one of which is the correct one. The job for you all is to identify which one is the correct one. Just write down your answer, and when everyone's ready, we'll show it to the screen. So genetic engineers are working on making a blank man, seriously. A, invisible, B, amphibious, or C, invisible. Just give a thumbs up after you've written down your answer. All right, everyone show your answers to the screen. Thanks, Matt. C, invisible, C, and B, amphibious. So the correct answer is, in fact, C, invisible. So that's 10 points for Semil and Matt. Yeah, this one is based on research that scientists at the University of California have been doing. They published a paper describing a project that they want to work on, in which they would genetically engineer human cells to have the ability to vary transparency. So getting to that invisibility. This is actually based on cephalopods, which are squids, and animals like that do have the ability to change both their color and their transparency. So the scientists want to genetically engineer human cells to produce a squid protein called reflectin, which is the protein that allows cells to change optical properties, basically how it scatters and refracts the light. This is a step in the direction of transparency, but still very far away before we're able to see genetically encoded invisibility. So we'll move on to the last headline of the day. So this one is, this startup is using AI to give workers a productivity score. So this is based on a Boston-based startup called Enable with AI in the middle for any investors watching. They're developing a machine learning software that basically measures how quickly employees complete various different tasks and then can suggest different ways to speed them up. So the tool will actually provide each person with a productivity score, which the manager can then use to identify those employees who are most worth retaining and those who are not, according to the article. The software which is called an AI productivity platform, goes beyond tracking things like email, Slack, and Zoom, and web searches. And it runs in the background at all the times, monitoring a complex data trail. Yeah, putting it out to you all. I mean, the world has obviously changed a lot, and moving forward, it sounds like most people are going to continue to work from home, whether that's full-time or part-time. We've already seen that the workday is not really ruled anymore by the 9-to-5 time slot. Lots of opportunity for taking care of your kids and Zoom hosted math class and these kind of things. We're basically getting work done whenever we can, which has its positives. If the designated work hours have been dissolved, how do employees know that teams are being productive, and how do they hold employees accountable for their work? And then related, I mean, I'd be curious to explore sort of what's the line between accountability and invasion of privacy.
I don't know. I don't think I'd like this personally, but I get it. But I remember at my previous day job, I think I would have liked to have a productivity score because I felt like there were several people in there that weren't pulling their weight, and it would have been interesting to see. But the idea of having somebody like, I don't know, monitor you so much like that makes me nervous or feel like, I don't know, it feels like a lot, like very micromanagey.
I feel like this is a very natural progression for giving managers more insights and observability into what their teams are doing. So they're already venture-backed startups. One's called People.ai. There's another one called Pinpoint, where they give sales managers and engineering managers like a really interesting dashboard of what their teams are doing already. And it is controversial a little bit, but also these are the managers in the orgs, and they have to go to the CFOs. Now, when everyone's at home, I mean, I thought Sarah's point was really good, and I hadn't thought of that. But you know, when you have everybody at home, like people are going to have to make tougher decisions, and it's going to be more output focused. And there's probably a way in which to allow the agent to just look at like work sanctioned tools and also look at outputs, not necessarily inputs. So it doesn't matter if Johnny was on his computer for 10 hours. It's like, did those tasks get done? And probably giving the manager a way to flag people who are, you know, showing lower output and that have a range of like high inputs, you know, for productivity.
Yeah, I mean, so do either of you think that this is your sense this is sort of good, or is your sense this is my immediate reaction is like, I don't know, something feels not good about this. I think on the, you know, like it just like feels icky for some reason. We're going to give everybody a productivity score, mostly because it doesn't seem like it's like believably foots to anything other than just like number of things, you know, I don't know, the number of things you're creating, but in general, output, focusing on output seems like it would be a good thing. But when my go ahead, sorry.
No, I totally hear you, and I think there are ways to design something like this that make it so it's both not creepy but also not ethically bad. But also, we're already doing this. So, like, if you work at a large company, they're already monitoring your email, right? They're monitoring your Slack. They're saving and archiving all the Slack and email. They're probably doing quarterly or annual reviews and documenting those reviews. And so now, how do you do that in a world where you might not see your coworkers for 6 months or a year, or things may be more distributed over time? So I think there's a way to do it where it's almost a natural extension of what's happening now. And it's a way to like, it's basically a way to codify it in a standard language that other people can look at. Obviously, some people are not going to like it. For sure, people didn't like People AI or Chorus or Pinpoint in a way too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so kind of counterintuitive to me, at least, is it seems in a way seems good, right? Because you're like, okay, instead of being paid for my time, right now we're like in the 1950s, there was all these assembly lines, right? And so everyone needed to come into work at 9 and leave at 5 at the same time, because like assembly lines only work if everybody's there at the same time, right? So now we're in this weird thing where we've taken the 9 to 5 and we've converted it to types of projects that don't necessarily need to be done in like in assembly line fashion. And so on the one hand, it gives people, it seems to me that like, instead of looking at someone and saying, okay, you're in your seat for this many hours and therefore you're doing your job, moving that to be output based instead of time based seems good, because you give people the flexibility to control it. But I think that I don't know, as I was thinking about this story, I was like, you also get this false sense of security, because if you're somebody paid by the button, right? So in like factories, you just get paid by the button, right? And so if you can sew a lot of buttons faster than anybody else, you are more productive and you make more money, right? And so, but that doesn't mean that you have more power. And in a way, what it does is it commodifies that whole layer of work. So then the person who's running the business can say, okay, everybody who's a button maker is just like you're judged by the number of buttons you're making. We can just commodify that entire thing, which starts to reduce the power that like the labor force has in general. Which I don't know if there's an answer to that, but that just, it feels like
but
it's a good thing, but then it's a bad thing.
Yeah, but I think like for someone who's like the amazing button sewer, they'll either get a promotion or someone else will hire them for more. Like, and you could argue that having a score and like a record of your output is something you can take with you, right? That's probably better. That's probably better. But I do think I think the larger question here is that like, because I've seen the natural progression in some of these companies, and I was an early investor in People.ai, is that when these companies now go like more distributed and they're not like having this physical interaction with their employees, they're going to be forced to like call staff, and they're going to need some methodology of how to do that. And this gives them one data point on how to like promote, retain, and maybe let go of. I also think that like it can be probably done in a way, maybe I'm being too naive, where someone's like got really high output but is also doing a lot of crazy stuff on the web and slacking and emailing and chatting a lot. You kind of let that go because the output's high. But if someone's low output and also just not doing other stuff, it's sort of like an unassailable fingerprint where you basically say, in your next review, like, hey, sorry,
So can I push you for a second on this? Because I agree with you fundamentally, but I think we should have like a conversation about it.
Yeah.
So you have taxi drivers who have no data, no meaningful data about where they are, where they're driving to, and you have the whole sort of, and from the perspective of the taxi driving organization. Then you have Uber, which has like to the GPS location information about every single driver. And my question is like, has the world from the experience of the person who is working for the company, experience of the person getting the service, arguably, how like did it end up mattering? Like we still like what's changed at the end of the day
for that Uber driver?
For just the world. Like so we've now given the whole world a productivity score. All right, we've advanced. How? Because my gut is we would advance, but like then I'm like maybe we won't.
Well, I mean, certainly there's going to be some people who are not going to be productive when it matters, and they maybe thought when they were productive or had a reputation of being productive, and they're going to fall aside. And then there are going to be other people who are maybe overlooked or have natural superpowers that are unearthed, and they become more productive. I mean, I think that is the positive spin on it.
Semil, Matt, Sarah, we'll have to continue this one on Twitter. We're going to move on to it's a great debate, though. Probably one of the better ones yet on the show. So thank you for that. We'll move on to the last cartoon of the day. Maybe sparking some more debate.
Here's the spa.
I like that one.
What else do we got? Other applications of productivity AI, getting kids into college. And lastly, I just imagined who would be the CEO using this. That's it.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right. So we'll end today with one final game, round 3. And this one is worth 20 points. So actually, whoever gets this wins. So this is fill in the blank, but what we're going for here is an outrageously funny answer. So if you happen to know what the correct answer is, it'll be 5 additional bonus points, but it'll be 20 points to whoever comes up with the funniest answer. So this is Hollywood plans to use blank for sex scenes to prevent the spread of COVID? And I'll give you all 30 seconds to come up with something really funny. And just give me thumbs up when you've got something good written down. I also recommend playing Quiplash on jackbox.tv during quarantine. It's really fun. They've got a game like this. Matt, do you have something? You look like you're done.
I mean, I'm done. It's not that
My
good.
answer.
Yeah, mine's not great either.
I'm not happy with my answer.
Okay, well, you're in the lead with 15 points, so it's fine. What do you got there? Bitcoin? Hollywood plans to use Bitcoin for sex scenes to prevent spread of COVID. I mean, there's one good use for the blockchain. Sarah, what do you got?
I mean, it's not going to be that great, but sex dolls.
That's a pretty good one. Matt?
I said that Hollywood's going to use Pixar.
That's probably the best answer.
It's a good one. I like that one. Matt, I will award you the points, which brings your grand total to 30 points. You are today's winner. I'll email you after the show with the prize. The correct answer was, in fact, CGI. So the Film Editors Trade Commission recently published 22 pages of instructions that outline how film studios can continue to operate while maintaining social distancing measures. So in addition to actors being provided with things like hand washing tutorials and having to audition behind plexiglass screens, the document also talked at great length about how close contact moments will have to either be rewritten, abandoned, or produced using CGI. So that's all we got.
I don't know, why don't they just do what Bollywood does and just do dance scenes?
Or, it reminds me of, this answer is actually kind of like Apple's synthetic group selfie. It's like actually what they're going to do, basically.
Yeah, they should use Apple's patent. Only available on the new Apple TV. Cool. For everyone watching, here's where you can find all of the guests again today on Twitter. And one last time, all the headlines from today came from This Week in Creative Technology, bit.ly/join Future Fridays. Thanks so much, everyone. This was a really awesome episode. I love the debate back and forth.
Good seeing everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Thanks so much.